started. Did we do, I know we did target 50 in here. Did we do target 500? Okay, it's basically the same type of game, so we don't have to play it. And I can't remember if, did I give you the method to check for the target 50? Do you remember? I think I did. The method being like you add up the 4 corners and you multiply by like 4 or something. I didn't say that?
That did not.
Okay, well, I believe that's the target. Bless you. Bless you. Does anybody have the target 50 games? I don't have it here with me. Okay, anybody have the target 50 games? Oh, thank you. Okay, so you got 70, 20, 35. Oh, so it must be multiplied by 2. Yeah. Okay, so the target 50, you add up the 4 corners and you multiply by 2. That's the shortcut way to get the answer. Now for this one, the target 500, I believe you multiply by 8. Okay? So that's a lot of work, for you to check the students. Okay, and the closest is target 500. Again, you can always change those targets. Let's see. Oh, a few books that I have that kind of catching up on some of these books. I'll pass these around. Is a blue whale the biggest thing there is? Okay, so this deals with kind of like relative sizes. Trying to let the students understand how big some of these things, some of these different animals are. Okay, so this is the tail of a blue whale. The flipper parts are called flukes. Just the flukes all by themselves are bigger than most of Earth's creatures. You can see the elephant over here, the lion and everything. So you see the blue whale there, so that kind of gives you an idea of the relative size. Okay, so here's the whole blue whale. It's not just bigger than most of Earth's creatures, it's bigger than all of them. The blue whale can grow to be 100 feet, 30 meters long, and weigh 150 tons. It's the biggest animal that ever lived. Okay, and then what they start doing is they start putting like the blue whales into these big jars to kind of give you an idea. You see the elephant there? You put 100 blue whales in a really big jar, and then put 2 of these whale jars on an enormously large platform. And then made a tremendously tall tower out of 10 platforms of whale jars. So you see you're getting really, really big here. So you set them on the top of Mount Everest, and it's very quite tiny. Okay? So that's what that one's all about, just trying to give them an idea for how big these animals are. The second one has to deal with estimation. How much is a million? Okay, where I stand. If 1 million kids climbed onto one another's shoulders, they would be taller than the tallest buildings, higher than the highest mountains, and farther up than airplanes can fly. If you wanted to count from 1 to 1 million, it would take you about 23 days. If a goldfish bowl were big enough for 1 million goldfish,
I'm sorry, did you say if you count from 1 to 1 million?
Counted from 1 to 1 million, it would take you about 23 days. So you don't believe that, huh? You don't buy that.
I'm sitting here like, one, like, no, I don't buy it. We're telling
Well,
lies right
how
now.
about if
Maybe
we'll
a
just
kid
do a
would
test
predict it
right
that
now.
many days.
Okay, so I'll keep track and I'll see how far you can count in 10 seconds, and I'll tell you when to go. Okay? And then we'll just multiply that to see how long it
You
will
want
take
me kind of loud?
you.
You want like 1
Yeah.
Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, or like
No,
1,
just
2,
count as
3?
fast as you want to.
Okay.
All right, so you ready? This is 3, 2, 1, go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 33, 34, 35, 36.
Okay, so where'd you end up?
37.
37 in 10 seconds. So it's 37, let's see, 10 seconds. So it'd be times 6 to get into 1 minute, right? All right. So 282 you'd have gotten up to in 1 minute. So 60 minutes would be 1 hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1 hour you'd have gotten to 16,920.
So now what do you gotta do, divide that by a million?
No, multiply by 24, so in 1 day, this is how far you'd have gotten. You'd have gotten to 406,000. So for you, it'd be like over 2 days, just a little bit over 2 days.
That's so funny, cause if someone asked me, I said, I could catch a million in 1 day, I would say that. Wow, mind blown. Is anyone else not mind blown right now? You thought you can count to a million? I did.
I was just kind of like.
I don't even know how to count.
I honestly thought 2 days was kind of short.
Well, no, that book said 23, didn't the book say 23 or something like that?
23 days, yeah.
So it's probably a kid counting
Like
them.
Mississippi.
Yeah.
Did you say Mississippi? I almost watched that.
Mississippi?
Okay, let's see what we have here. You know, when you add more than 2 numbers together, okay, this book would be really good for that. Cats add up. Because they have things like this. One day a stray cat hops into my backpack. Catfish has long whiskers that bounce up and down on the bus ride home. 1 stray cat and 2 old cats and 5 kittens and our cat Maxie add up to 9. So this person's been collecting cats over the few days.
Oh, Rachel, that's Rachel's book. Rachel, did you write that book?
Okay, so then you could, put these numbers on the board and then look at counting multiple.
Chrissy, I don't think you're getting that book back.
What? I can get that one back.
Here.
Okay, this one also has more than 2 add-ins, more than 2 numbers. This is showing you different ways that you can get to 11. See, a lot of times students don't really think about it. I think about very young students when they're first adding. Okay, how many ways can you get to 11? So if you ask them how many different ways can you get to 11, this will kind of, they can make a guess. So pick up 9 pine cones from the forest floor and 2 acorns. So there's 9 plus 2. At the circus, 6 peanut shells and 5 pieces of popcorn. Okay, so your students can be writing all these down. Some other magician's hats, 4 banners, 5 rabbits, a pitcher of water, and a bouquet of flowers. So now here's where you get the multiple add-ins. Okay? Let's see. For subtraction, I couldn't find too many for subtraction, but I think you can find this one, the great takeaway. Let's see how they actually get to the great takeaway. I'm not really sure where this starts. I guess I'm not going to read this one. Oh, there's the problem there on the left. That hog takes the cake store to father. There were 9 gifts, just 4 left. How many were taken away with that? That's what they're going through. So let's just go through a story. Read all these. Okay.
Oh, you just thought you wanted this?
Yeah.
That's not
And then
something.
I came with it and I was like, okay.
It's like bonus. It's Christmas celebration.
Yeah, it's really funny.
All right, so here you can make puzzles up for your students. So all these squares will be cut out, maybe shuffled up. And so your students that are adding and subtracting And you can see how you can differentiate this very easily. You just give certain cars to certain students. Okay? Is that self-explanatory, that puzzle there? All right. Now, we didn't begin multiplication here yet, did we? I don't think we have.
Isn't that the other class? Can we do that in the other class?
Yeah, we do a lot of it in the other class.
No, the other class, the 4-5, isn't that?
We've done a lot of grouping and.
Of ways of subtraction, that's probably the last.
Okay, we did multi-digit subtraction, didn't we? Like 38 minus 14 or something?
Yeah,
like
because
that?
we did it like with the hundreds, tens, and ones columns.
Okay.
And instead of like carrying, we like showed it with like little sticks.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna show you how to introduce multiplication. This would be late first grade. And there's actually 2 books that you can use for multiplication. This one I think is a better one. Of course, it's nice and big too. Each orange had 8 slices. Have you seen this before? Okay, so it says a counting book, but we're actually going to use it for multiplication. So as we're going through this, on my way to the playground, I saw 3 red flowers. Each red flower had 6 pretty petals. Okay, so now you could say, okay, what would the addition sentence be? Because that's what the students know right now. So we'd have 6 plus 6 plus 6. Okay, and I could write that on the board. And I could say, how many groups of 6 do we have? 3 groups of 6. Okay, that's what I would do.
Like that. Yep.
Oh, maybe they can.
So are you reading this book and writing at the same time, kind of like going through it, or are you reading it all the way through and then coming back and doing that?
You could probably do either one. I probably would read the book once, like maybe even earlier in before the lesson actually, so just during some reading time. Okay, and then coming back and then starting to do it. I probably would go through it once.
Okay.
Okay? Each petal had 2 tiny black bugs. All right, so we have 18 petals, and each one has 2 tiny black bugs, so we've got 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, 18 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, really.
Okay?
Like that.
And so the students could skip count by 2s if they wanted to get the answer? Yes?
I made a game like that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, like it's like a puzzle game, so like 4 plus 4 plus 4.
Oh,
and then they
yeah.
realize it's 4 times 4. And then they find the corresponding picture, like
Oh, 4
that one
plus.
is in, yeah, and then they find the picture that matches.
So they make the whole puzzle with it?
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
Shannon, you're ahead of the game.
Look at
That's
that.
very nice.
Guys, if you want it, I'll send it to you.
Yes, please, send it to all of us.
Okay, and then this one here, 18 groups of 2 is 36. Okay. So I might do a few of these like this, and then at some point, especially with this one, this is a nice one here, to say, you know, that's a lot of adding 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. I'm going to show you another way to get this answer. 18 groups of 2 is done like that, and that's called a times sign. So 18 times 2 is 36. So instead of 18 groups of 2, I have 18 groups of 2, 18 times 2. And that's how you introduce the times sign of multiplication. Okay, so I can just keep going through this book and come after these groups. Okay, so you see the repeated addition and you see the groups. So I'm using both of those before I introduce 18 times 2 multiplication. Yes?
So they would kind of learn the multiplication sign as the mean of groups of?
Yeah.
Like, addition, like bring them together?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, because you weren't in my 4-5, are you gonna be in there next year? Okay, so the 4-5, you guys have seen me talk about groups this whole semester. And so you see that it just builds right off of. So we're starting this in first grade, and hopefully everybody in between that and 4th and 5th grade are continuing to use groups because then you want to use them for multiplying with fractions, multiplying with decimals, and then we're going to see multiplying with positive, negative integers, and that kind of thing. 12 days of summer is like the 12 days of Christmas. So you could actually use the 12 days of Christmas. And the way you could use this is, we'll just go with Christmas, which we both all know that. First day of Christmas, partridge in a pear tree. So one partridge, we'll say. First day of Christmas. Second day of Christmas, I have 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. Okay? And then the third day, okay, so you see my first, second, and third. So I could write all these up there in the 12 days. So I'm reading either the 12 days of summer or the 12 days of Christmas. And I'm going to write all these up. And now I'm going to look at these as groups, because I'm going to have 11 groups of 2. Okay? Now 10 groups of 3. And then I can start talking about, okay, 10 groups of 3. What is that? They add up 3 plus 3 plus 3 10 times. And then we'd say 10 times 3. We can use multiplication that way too. Okay? By the way, does anybody know where the 12 days of Christmas, what that really means? I just found out this past Christmas. Have you heard of 12 days of Christmas? I mean, you know, it used to be that, I'm not sure when it was, in the Middle Ages or maybe a little bit earlier, that there was this long celebration that began on Christmas. That was the first day of Christmas. And the 12th day of Christmas was actually the biggest, either the 12th or the day after the 12th, was actually the day that we think of Christmas today. So they would, every day they would have this long celebration, and they'd have a lot of food and drink, and they'd go to different houses and things like that for those 12, 13 days. It wasn't a family thing until like the 1800s or something like that. But anyways, I always heard about the 12 days of Christmas. I didn't know what it was until this passed. All right. So we've got, in first grade, we introduced multiplication. Let's see, I forgot my, look at my computer.
Laura, did you want me to tell you? I just, if it changed it, then I didn't know. So I just put it in my calendar because they said that they couldn't do it right.
But I didn't have anything about last weekend.
They changed it right.
Yeah.
Dr. Christie,
Yes.
I may have asked this question before, but I can't remember if I did, so hopefully you don't remember either. Is there like, so I know there's probably like guidelines, but is there like a broken down cheat sheet that tells you in kindergarten, these are the math concepts, or not like a whole thing, just like you're learning, adding, breaking down into groups, blah, 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 whatever, and in first grade you're doing this, like, is there just a little, is there something online for that? Or?
I don't know if there's anything like that outside of the standards. You can just go into the house standards, look at kindergarten, you know, and say, okay, and you might make a sheet from that,
Yeah.
rather than having all
No
those
one else
skills.
thought about that, huh?
Yeah, see, you're making a lot of money.
I know, I thought all the good ideas were taken. Clearly not. Lauren, you can do it.
I'm not the energy.
You're like, I'm only doing it in 3rd grade if I do it, so it's not gonna be bad.
Book.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, is this going this way or this way? What's going on? So being just on one side.
I thought those were directions.
Okay.
Like, I did not make all these directions. That made me
So here we are making groups. I don't think this sheet talks about multiplication, it's just making groups, isn't it? Okay? So now this is kind of preparing for when you are going to use multiplication, introduce multiplication. This is prior. These 2 sheets should have been stapled. Take a look at this and see if you can see the connection to multiplication. Welcome. and so this could go real nice with, right after the lesson, like with each orange had 8 slices.
So we're having the kids put these fingers into groups like who has hearts, who has bows, like that kind of groups?
Let's see, draw them up and down, how many groups? Oh, this is actually getting into the rectangular array, okay? So if you draw them up and down, okay, so you see I have 4 groups of 3.
Oh, okay.
And if I draw them horizontally, 3 groups of 4, that also gets into the commutative property. Okay, so you can use it for that as well. Okay? But it is showing you a rectangular array. All right. We have here this. Kind of give you an idea. This is just a basic. Doesn't go into the detail that you were talking about, Tony.
Oh, okay.
But let's see, in first grade, this is really the old Ohio standards, but most schools kind of follow this, still follow this way of doing things. In first grade, you introduce the multiplication. You also introduce this rectangular array, which is this right here, okay? And the connection is, again, those groups, okay? Second grade, you start to do a lot more skip counting.
Time out. First grade, the 2 things you do is just multiplication and basically, you just.
Introduce multiplication, and you let them see it as being groups, and then as a rectangular array. You start showing, they don't need to know the word rectangular array, but to start to see that there's 2 ways to get the multiplication from this.
So this is what we do all through first grade.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's
It's really
adding and
close to the
subtracting
end of
with that
first
too.
grade. Yes, it's really toward the end of first grade. We're doing mostly the addition basic facts.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
This is Dr. Christie. I know he's new.
Haven't been here in a while.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you.
Feeling better?
Yes, much better.
Everybody have a good spring break?
Yeah.
Ready to push to the end here, right?
That's right.
But nobody went anywhere, right?
Oh, we did. We hung out. We went to the movies.
Oh, you went to the movie?
Yeah, we went to the movies together.
Oh, but, Kara, you went to Florida?
No one cares,
Oh,
Kara.
really?
We stayed
It
here.
says Wyoming on your shirt.
I don't see
How was it down there? Was it?
Florida and
Okay, now when it's rainy and like 40 degrees outside,
Oh,
and it's freezing.
goes where?
Like
Oh,
it was so
really?
hard to even sleep, it was so cold.
Well, welcome back.
Did you go somewhere?
Right here, every day. Serving your, being a dean, you know. So no, I didn't get away, so. Wanted to say welcome back.
It's hard being on top sometimes.
Yeah, tough, yeah.
No one's
Um, We got a lot of faculty that are sick and have been sick. Man, I had a faculty meeting a couple weeks ago and I said, as dean, I don't give too many edicts out, but I said, nobody can get sick. And the next day, 2 faculty members were out and I go, so much for that.
We defied you.
Yeah, so we got an adjunct out today. And
Oh, is that right?
yeah, Deborah's back, but probably shouldn't be.
I should still feel bad.
So stay healthy.
Well, we're missing a few, right? One.
Just one?
Oh, just one.
I think we need some more Purell stations around here.
Yes. It's got one in the
We
back
should just
here.
start giving out tablets of vitamin C or something. Yeah, like a little.
Like as soon as you walk into the
Maybe.
building.
If vitamin C order.
Did you get a flu
Grading
shot?
jobs right now.
I did.
I got a flu shot. Did you get? You had to do that.
I usually do, I just, if I got
the
sugar.
flu shot. I thought the flu was like in October.
Yeah,
So
that,
it wouldn't have done me any good.
Actually, I think Lauren's the one who got the entire building sick, because I think she was sick before.
I started like right before methods last, like,
Yeah.
towards the end of last
That's
year.
why she's sitting by herself.
And I was, yeah, I sit alone, now I'm quarantined.
stay healthy, all right?
Okay.
Clearly, there's no one to replace you. So,
What?
there's no one to replace you, so you have to.
I hope not.
You're like, that's always nice to not have everyone.
No other math person.
No.
Well, probably Dr. Lane. Yes, she's good.
I like how you said green.
Yeah.
No
problem.
Whatever happened again, she
It
did
replaces
you
you
out.
out. She agrees that she's okay to.
Well, to me,
take
she's
over
okay
for
to
a
be
little bit.
irreplaceable.
Oh, thank
You
you.
are irreplaceable.
Get out.
This is a real life situation. In real life,
He's going
someone's
to
gonna
the
step into our
bathroom
room
next
and then our kids are gonna go crazy. And then we're not gonna be able to get back on track.
Hello.
Hello.
So for the math classes when you're not here next year.
That is so nuts.
Well, I won't be here in the spring. We're gonna find somewhere to do.
Where are you gonna be?
You're gonna be on student semester?
Yeah.
Wait. Spring. We'll be graduated. Look, have us teach it. We can all teach it.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll be
It'll
qualified.
be fresh in our mind. Yeah, I'll have all my notes. Yes.
She does take great notes.
And all the
She takes the
videos.
best. Yeah, videos.
Yeah, I can just do it by
It could be an online, yeah, it's just be online.
Yeah.
That would be terrible.
You can look at Stephanie's success rate and see if that's, and okay, and if she's doing great, then it's possible that you could do that from home,
Almost
just like you.
YouTube, yeah. I wouldn't have to come in.
And you still get like double paid maybe, no? Doesn't work like that? Just trying to get
I'd
you
probably get
fired.
fired.
All right.
Okay, are we ready?
We're ready.
All right, let's see. So we got first grade down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second grade, now we start to do more multiplication. No basic facts, just more multiplication.
Like double numbers or triple numbers? Like what do you mean by more multiplication? Is it
Oh, I just mean, because we just introduced it, at least when I had it on the board there, we just introduced it. Now we're going to do like more groups, 3 groups of 4. You know, what is 3 times 4? And they're going to have to figure it out by repeated addition or making pictures and things like that. Okay, so there's going to be doing a lot more multiplication in second grade than first grade. First grade, again, the emphasis is on the basic facts of addition. Let's see, you also do in second grade, I'm trying to find it here. Where is that? The Cartesian product, which has a really fancy name. Basically what it is, if you have 3 different shirts and 4 different pairs of pants, how many sets can you wear together? How many outfits can you have? Okay, that's what the Cartesian product is. So if you look at that here, put A, B, and C, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 3 pairs of shirts, 4 pairs of pants. By the way, you can do this real nice with cutouts or manipulatives and things like that. How many different outfits could you get? Well, you could have, okay, so A could be, this shirt could be worn with this pair of pants, this pair of pants, this pair of pants. So you see I already got 4 with this one. So now with this one, how am I going to get, how many am I going to have? 4. So you start to see the multiplication comes out, and here I have 4. So when you have 4 and 3, just multiply that, 12. Okay? So you can set up a pattern for that too, because you could have the students figure this out and say, what would this be as multiplication? 4 times 3 is 12. You could do another pattern like 2 and 5, and they figure out how many combinations they're going to get 10. Okay, and they start to see how you can make this into multiplication. You don't have to count everything up. Do you see that, or does that make sense?
Does that get deeper, like as you go further, like that's like shirt and shorts, you'd be like, oh, shoes, so you get a third thing and they try to do it too, or is it just
Yeah,
right there?
it's just the 2.
Okay.
Okay, so that's called Cartesian product, real fancy name, but that's really what it is. How many different ways you can break things together. In third grade, now you also do the rectangular array, but you do it in a certain way. Let's say I gave you the boxes there. So if you get out the boxes, get the squares, the foam squares that are in there. And make a rectangular array of 4 by 3, sort of like those teddy bears.
a great idea.
I mean, they didn't have boxes at one time.
Why did you do that? You just bring them.
I'll just bring them in individually and hand them out. Okay, so you have a 4x3. Okay, now if you keep them separate, that's called a rectangular array. If you have space in between all the blocks, all the squares, that's a rectangular array. Now the area model is just bringing area units, which you have right there, those are square inches. If you bring them together, get rid of all the space in between, you have what's called the area model for multiplication. So really the area model is just one type of rectangular array. We're using area units. And you see that's where the length times width comes for a rectangle. Okay? And you see why would it be length times width? Think of groups.
Groups of horizontal units versus vertical units.
Okay? So you could look at the horizontal as being groups. So you have whatever those,
Like
what,
a foot, if you
four,
believe
four,
it.
four, and four, for example. And then how many groups do you have? That's the vertical side. So 3 groups of 4. Does that make sense? Or you could do it from the bottom as well. You could do it vertically. Are we okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
So the area model and the rectangular array really are, area model is one type of rectangular array. They really aren't all that different. So a rectangular array would be using maybe objects and things like that. If you're using area things like square centimeters, square inches, square feet, then and you bring them together, now you've got the area model. Okay, so that's 3rd grade. And then in 3rd grade, we do the basic facts of multiplication. That's where we're going to, and I'll just introduce and then we'll take a break. All right, so 3rd grade, we're going to use the commutative law, reverse it. Remember how we did that for addition and it cut our facts in half that you had to remember? If you do 3 plus 4, and it was the same as 4 plus 3. So we're going to do it here again, except we're going to let the students figure out the commutative law, just like we did before. Then we're going to begin with the doubles. Now the doubles are 2 times anything. And think about what that was in addition. We talked about the addition being doubles, 4 plus 4, 6 plus 6, 7 plus 7. So if they've learned that in 1st grade, if they have flashcards from 1st grade, you want them to keep those flashcards through 2nd grade, so when they come to 3rd grade, they'll be able to use those same flashcards and just turn it into a multiplication problem. Instead of 3 plus 3, now it's going to be 2 times 3, 2 groups of 3. Okay? So this is where you're starting to rely on the addition facts. I don't know if you remember, but a few weeks ago when I said the addition facts are the most important, this is why. Because if you know the addition facts, then you're going to be able to do the doubles here. You don't have to learn them all over again. Of course, with the doubles, you also have skip counting by 2s. Then we're going to learn the 5 facts, then the 0 and 1 facts, the 9 facts, and then we're going to have 25 facts at the most we have to memorize. But if we know the commutative pairs, it comes out to, I think, be 15 of these. So at the most you have to memorize 15. Okay? So we'll talk about those strategies. We'll just get back at 5 after 11. Okay? Oh, that's
Get this picture.
That's what I said with the
Thank you. Did you send me something on email? Oh, no, somebody, another Rachel sent it. I don't think it's,
Like it affects what Shannon told me.
I don't think it does. Let's see over
Can I
here.
remove it on Saturday?
Because I put it as a column, but what I didn't do was make it like part of.
So it's in there.
I didn't make it
It's
count.
somewhere.
Let me just-
I'm just gonna reprint them because I have no
I'm out
idea.
of money, I'm out of fun too.
Yeah.
Of course.
No, I did one that, I did a
So
multiplication
right now, there's
one, because I
that.
figured that was like a little bit up. I did like
Okay.
earlier, like
But
kindergarten,
if you look at the weighted
mid-tier, and
totals,
higher.
this is your grade.
Okay. It's just, I don't know, it comes up differently, so I'm
In
like.
folder, he didn't want them
Oh,
all in like, he said
No,
he didn't
that's-
want them all in
Like,
like a
that
bag.
was me, I'm making boxes.
Yeah, that's your grade there. I guess it.
That's
just
so
the
cute, though.
weighted total, it's supposed to take this.
All of my
plus-
boxes
I guess the reason I didn't put it in is because.
I
we're
love
All of my
on
boxes
test.
are being used,
So
like my
that's
small
what-
boxes
that's
are
your
being
grade,
used
and
to
if
make
I
my
put the
puppies
test
too
tubes,
small.
you're gonna have.
And then I was
Then
like,
I'll-
Because we have a big cage for her,
Yeah.
and we had to make it smaller, so I have no boxes, so they're going in
Will
bags.
they just like the pencil just
Labeled?
Yeah, yeah. What I'll just do, they'll just.
I'm gonna
I'll-
end up
I'll-
printing, and I only have one more that I have to reprint, and I have to reprint that I have to print. But
Yeah,
that's like,
you're welcome.
What's your
The
iPad who
easiest-
has?
like edition or something like that.
Mine's the same kind of just, but it's like it has a number and then like the number, like it has like the representation or something.
Gotcha.
I can't even think of the name, I like what I'm trying to say.
But I figure that's the best thing that I have to reprint, because it'll take only a few pages, and laminating a few pages.
And it's for a whole class.
And it's
you
for a
don't
whole
have
class, so I don't have to do a multiple.
I'll show you, I think I need,
Probably would have just
you want my fishing?
been easier for me for you guys to.
Do you think Dr. Christie let me bring the pup scissors to the cage? I feel so sad, like I'm really counting this until I get to go home.
St. Patrick's Day.
That's how crazy I am right now. And then I have to go
We have
back
it
for
for
class
now,
for 15
there's
minutes.
one,
I'll play a few
there's
games.
one per student.
It's the reality.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
But I have
I'll
all of
email
this
it over.
on my computer, so I can write more if I need to.
I
So
got
like
it
this
back,
one right
but-
here is like multiplying numbers. And then this one is story.
Oh, I see, so really you have a.
I'll email it to you in a minute when I go back on the Safari because
That's
You know,
fine.
instead
I don't
of,
like
and then you
Google.
play 6 people at a time if you want.
Yeah.
And then, so these.
Like, I remember when I printed those, I was like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I just want to go do that.
I have everything done except I just need to finish cutting it out. Like everything's like printed and laminated and like
Each one of these has their own, you know.
no, that's what all mine are off of.
That's what mine are too.
Not one of them, but
But like one of them has instructions for like how to do it, like it's a.
I need to write the instructions.
Okay.
But I think I might just write them and then like.
I have to go to the dollar store and buy things. Because I have a million again
And
and
this
misplaced
so
them.
this is like third grade, and under, this right here is like 4th grade, so I.
I
No,
have
I
the
started
questions
it, like I,
answered.
yeah, I was gonna say, I did the question, like I asked Lillian the question.
For
How
like
many
both of
questions
them, so
did you
that's why I
ask?
kind of, like, you
Okay, I did 5.
I would just.
I honestly just sent them to my dad and I was like, Dad,
To type the whole thing.
Pretty much.
I was gonna say, it's only.
you don't have to do the actual answers, it's just gonna give like a summary.
I just did like, I asked her this and she wanted
But
to
if I
find
needed
it.
to.
But then you turn in the questions with it, so like.
Exactly, so you
But how
just
did
read
you
the
type the
question.
questions? I literally typed the questions as if like Killian was like saying.
And then I ran out and I had to cover so much.
Like I said, like
What do you
this, like, so like if I was responding to the question, I would say, well, when I was in whatever grade, I had this experience, that's how I typed it.
Are we doing it
As
like,
if like it was
do
Killian
we have to
typing
type
it.
it question answer format
Yeah,
like that?
because you have to turn that in.
Put like
Yeah.
pennies and stuff.
I'm just gonna,
At the end.
I just had my dad do that.
Yeah, so like you just have literally, you do have the question answer format, then you write 3 pages, and then that question answer format is just turned in. Like you don't have to do anything to it, you just need to show the proof of it, basically.
Now, with the,
Yeah, no,
I
like,
retyped mine
We have to.
I just typed it out.
Yeah, I would say, I just like literally had Killian sit next to me and I typed the question and then I typed the answer. He would like tell me the answer.
And then you write
That was a really
And
nice.
then, yeah.
and then.
So didn't she say she wants like a summary of responses?
Like labeled like coins.
I haven't looked at, honestly, I haven't looked.
I'm pretty sure you would do also a summary of responses, so that'll be easy if you already have typed out like.
Well, exactly, you just write basically, I think they said this. Well, not I think, but
So
they said
after I.
this.
Well, like this is the gist I got from.
Yeah,
the
it's like
responses.
that, and then it's something else, and then it's something else, and then you're done. I don't know. I clearly did.
So I created some of those, but, they were almost like, fraction cards, probably not. So this is fractions.
Alright, I'll send you a text.
If they still want to pick up.
Okay. Because knowing me, I'm going to forget.
So I
You're welcome.
show them to your, put them, you know, so when you see it, you know, how you can play with that, you can play direction beat with them, you can play, how do you do
Oh, you just put that like in the direction, you just say that, the direction, say that. Use this one as a matching game.
It's so disorganized.
Fish.
It's not like they
You don't
say.
have to spike those
you want,
Oh.
instead of it always being 50, because then, they get laminated them all, so you can use dry erase markers and stuff.
Yeah.
But,
Did you put those in those sheets?
I just like it, so you can use dry erase markers.
Oh, I see.
She wasn't
Okay,
really
okay,
brilliant
okay.
kid.
Okay.
No, no, I literally like bought a laminator, like to her lamination sheet, so just laminated everything. But, like,
She called
in
off.
reality, in my room, I feel like I would have a container full of dry erase markers, and this is what we use all the time. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't put that in a box.
Correct.
Like, it was- But when it came to that one, like,
You can't like.
she came
I
out
would
today,
say-
and my printer only carries up 16, because I literally changed as much sheet, because all my black ink is gone, so I have to, they go get some more, but those are always copy.
And she just.
Yeah.
And then
That'd be fine.
the other one, what was the other one, I just saw it.
Honestly.
Target and a product came, I called the product came, a kid
Oh.
little product came.
And she's
So I
fine.
made, really up that, made it bigger,
She's
and then
awesome.
made little cutouts
She's
and
more
all that
helpful
too.
than
Okay.
And the directions are pretty much on there,
Yeah.
so that doesn't have to be like inside the box or anything like that, right, because they're on the paper.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, on there.
Okay, we can put those over there if you like.
Oh, you want, so did you?
Yeah, then Wednesday, what I really wanna do is, I just wanna.
You don't have my idea, what do you need to do? Should I recommend you make it over?
Do you need a current
Yeah.
marker, Tony?
Probably.
And we can work on it together. I'm gonna be losing Tuesdays and Thursdays starting methods. These are all my days. I still have some of those bracelets for.
Oh.
So they're like.
I'm gonna put an order in.
Is this
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, that'll be
Should I
fine.
put- they're-
Because I'm doing a whole bulk order.
They're labeled.
So
early game
May
one, early
1st
game
is the last
two,
day to order.
Okay.
Early three.
Okay.
and then
I just
middle
made it
two,
for next month.
middle game one. I was
Okay.
gonna.
Okay, you put on
Do you want me to
the
put you
table
down so I remind you?
Yeah.
If you don't do your own, it's not a big deal. Yeah, Kelly's already at like $230.
So that means if I go.
And our goal is to
No.
only like raise 500 as a group, so.
Cause I think I actually saw them, I was at the.
And I love
I like
Julian's kids.
And they had, I think they had 30 bracelets there.
Never is it.
Today it's
Maybe
gonna
some
be
things are
because
probably,
some
right, 'cause I think
Amazon.
you only ordered that online.
Ashley's in my room, Jess is stuck in her room.
We have,
Karen and Layla are babies.
my friend coming in today,
And
she's gonna
Emily.
sponsor them, she's gonna be our investor. She's gonna give startup money, so that we can start making shirts.
Sometimes she can
So she's doing that and like the check today.
tell us that she can't
I'm
work.
gonna like video it, she's doing this whole video thing, and she's like, oh my gosh.
So I am really upset with you for volunteering.
Listen, I've been presenting
Called off she called off last Monday, and then she tried to call on Friday.
Oh, you mean I could just present the data?
Every Monday and Friday.
Tony, what are we presenting?
Can I just say like,
I looked at it a little bit, but there was really nothing like to make out of it.
What?
Google Photos.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna talk about like,
We're just gonna wing it.
Google Calendar, I found,
Love Google Calendar.
I found a video, it's like 14 minutes long, but it just tells you everything you know about Google Calendar. So part of me's like, well, I'm gonna Google this and show you that you can Google anything, and Google Calendar's on here, look this really quick. I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel.
And we both have the photos, right? So I just looked at it and just like upload here, make a video, make a slideshow.
What's this
make a
for?
time. Yeah, I use Google Photos. So that for our technology.
That's what I was
Do we
thinking.
still need the
because
squares
people are like,
up?
when your
No.
phone dies or something happens to it, like, oh my god, I lost all my photos. No, you put them on Google Photo and then.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So I think like just saying something as simple as that is not, you know, I'm not trying to
no
presentate, no,
problem.
I'm not doing a PowerPoint, nothing like that.
Google Calendar is honestly awesome.
so I might just like,
Because you can show Samsung, it's the same
And then
color.
I'll have to just show the video, rather than show, because it talks about how Google Hangouts can be linked. You know,
I obviously
it's
don't
not
think,
it's
it's not like a team, like maybe in there for. It's not a team. No, I'll have to switch because Amanda's not here.
Oh, she's not there all the time. I think Christine would rather go to colors because she can understand how they're supposed to.
Okay, I gave you a couple of handouts. One says arrays and groups, and again, you can kind of see that in this case, you could take something like this, and you're just setting up the students for groups, right prior to the introduction of multiplication. Okay, 'cause you don't see any multiplication on here. You could put it right on here as well, but you start to see the groups in here. Okay? So this is again getting prior to introducing the time sign and so on. Reverse it, now this is, we're going to use this in second and third grade, except you can make a lot nicer handout than this. This really isn't meant to be handed out, maybe in third grade, but it's really not meant to be handed out. It's really meant for you to give you an idea of how you could teach the commutative law.
Which one's that?
Okay, it says reverse it
Okay.
at the top, okay? And so basically what it has, it just has a bunch of pictures there, like 3 groups of 5 and 5 groups of 3, okay? And it's just going to let the students keep patterning, making these patterns. Okay, so 4 groups of 3 and 3 groups of 4, 2 groups of 7, 7 groups of 2, and what do you notice about the problems? All the answers are the same, and you just reverse the numbers, which are called factors. Okay, and so they can come up with that, the commutative law of multiplication. It's not important that they know the name of it, just so that they can reverse those. Does it make sense? Okay, because that's going to cut their math facts in half. Now we have up here is, there's your commutative law, reverse it, so we're in third grade. We want them to learn their, all their basic facts of multiplication, so this is how we're going to do it. Instead of going through a traditional way, doing all the 2 times, and all the 3 times, and all the 4 times, and all the 5 times, you know how we used to, I don't know if that's the way you were taught, but that's the way I was taught. Okay, you go right in order. Now we're going to build off of what they already know. All right? So they know the doubles, so if in first grade, and that's what I would do if I was a third grade teacher, I'd go to the first grade and I'd say, do these doubles cards, you know, for 3 plus 3 and 5 plus 5. And then in second grade, I'd say, just remind the students, don't let them take them home, don't let them keep them, okay, because I want to use them in third grade. So they kind of they go with the students as they come through. Now they come up and they have those cards they've been using for 3 years or 2 years now, and now I can say, okay, the doubles, 4 plus 4, what's 4 plus 4? They know it's 8, okay? That's 2 groups of 4, that's 2 times 4 is 8. So now when I think about 2 times 4, I'm thinking double 4, 2 times 9, double 9, and so on. And all their nines facts that they were learning, I mean all their addition facts come into play, their doubles. Does that make sense? The doubles aren't hard though, because you think about it, this is skip counting by 2s, and they know how to do that very well anyway, okay? Same with the next set of facts. The 5 facts are very easy. Again, we have the clock, you know, so you see groups of 5 minutes. Okay, by this time in third grade, they should be able to look at the clock and say, okay, when the big hand's on the 6, that means 6 by 5 is 30. Okay, so they probably got the 5 facts down. Again, skip counting by 5s, you've probably already been doing that. They've been doing that since kindergarten. Okay, so 8 groups of 5 would just be, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on until you get to the 8. All right? So those facts aren't that difficult. Now the 0 and 1s are the ones you have to be careful about. Anytime you see 0 again, anytime you see 0, something's going to happen. All right? Now it's tempting to say anytime you multiply by 0, you get 0. Anytime you multiply by 1, you keep the same thing. But you want the students to come up with that. All right? Because they will not, if you just say anytime you multiply by 0, you get 0, I mean, think about what the students are thinking right now. They're thinking multiplication, you get bigger. And now 4 times 0 is 0. That just doesn't make any sense to them. They'll probably want to say 4 times 0 is 1. At least it's something, or 4 times 0 is 4. Okay? So we have to get them, introduce them how to even write 4 times 0. So how might I do something like that? Do you remember with the addition, how I got them to write plus 0?
Wasn't this one for when we did this in middle? Didn't we do something like that in the middle?
Well, not for the addition.
No, but I could have sworn it was like.
We've done with zeros in there too. Yes.
I'm nothing, using that word nothing,
Okay.
and like, she doesn't give me anything, how much do I have? If I have 5 turtles, and Kara doesn't wanna share hers, she would give that to me, and how many do I still have?
Yeah. But do you remember how we set it up? We did something like this. With the addition, we went like, I'm playing with 3, remember the little toys, the frogs or whatever, and I want to play with some more, so I look in the box and there's 4. How many do I have now? 7. How do I write that? 3 plus 4 is 7. So then I start over again, I say I'm playing with 3, I want to play with some more, I look in the box, there's only 1 in there, So how many am I playing with then if I take the one out of the box? 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, I can write that. So far, so good. All right, and now comes the 0. So I'm gonna say I'm playing with 3, I wanna get some more. I look at the box and none's in there. How many do I have now? 3. How do I write that as addition? See, at this point, they're probably gonna say, well, it's just 3. That's why I did this up here, because I'm gonna say, well, look up here, how did I do it before? I started with 3, and I got 4 more, and I got 7 then. 3 and 1 more. How would I write this one? I began with 3, and how many more did I get? How many was in the box? 0. Okay? And I end up with 3. Because remember, that's a hard thing for them to do, is to write the plus 0. They just want to write 3. And actually, that makes more sense. Okay? Now, once we did this and got to be able to write it, then maybe in another lesson, we would have a whole bunch of plus zeros that we were going to, like solve. Like, what's 9 plus 0? 9. Let me write that on the board. 5 plus 0 equals 5. And so I can put these on the board on another day, just a bunch of these, and say, what do you notice I'm adding with 0? And then that's when they come up with the idea, oh, you always get the same number. Okay, so that was with the addition. Now, multiplication, we could do the same type of thing. I could say, like, I have 4 boxes here, and in each box there are 3 crayons. How many crayons do I have? 12. 4 groups of 3. How do I write that? Okay, so I have 4 boxes here. There's only 1 crayon in each. How many crayons do I have? 4. How do I write that? 4 groups, and there's 1 in each group. Is this okay so far? And now I'm going to do the same thing. I have 4 boxes. In it are no crayons. None of the boxes have any crayons. How many crayons do I have altogether? 0. How do I write it? And see, that's again, anytime there's a 0, they're going to be kind of confused. That's why I did these 2 first. And say, okay, how did I do it before? And I had 4 boxes, and 1 was in each. So in this case, we have 4 boxes, and how many is in each? And how many total do I get? 0. Okay? Then I can do another set like 6 times 5, 6 times 2, 6 times 0 to get them to write it again. Okay? And then, so that's one thing, just getting them to write it. That's a tough thing. And then the second thing is, once I start having them write it, then just collect all these 6 times zeros, 4 times zeros, and what do you notice every time you multiply by 0? And then they give you the rule. See, now it makes sense, as opposed to us saying, anytime you multiply by 0, you get 0. That doesn't make sense to students. So again, what I'm doing here is that I'm setting them up so that they can tell me the rule. You see how I'm always setting them up where they understand, they say, oh, anytime you multiply by 0, you get 0. Yes?
How would you ask the question? Because I'm thinking that the students would be using manipulatives while you're doing that.
And that's a good idea, yeah.
But then how would you phrase the question to say, make 4 boxes with 0 items in it? Like, how do you phrase that as a question? I guess I'm trying to figure out.
So, and see how you're kind of confused by that? Because it's a very strange, anytime you're with 0, it just changes everything. So what I would probably do in that case would be to use, like, have paper plates, little paper plates. And so I'd say, okay, take 3 paper plates, and they take out, well, let me just do it 4. Take 4 paper plates, and then take the 4, have them in front of them. Okay, put 3 on each plate. How many groups do I have? 4. How many is in each group? 3. How do I write that as multiplication? 4 times 3 is 12. Okay? And then, take 2 off, and there's 1 on each, and do the same thing. Say, okay, how many plates do I have? 4. How many groups do I have? 4. How many is in each group? 1. Okay, so how many total I have? 4. How do I write that? 4 times 1. And then say, okay, I'll take those off. Okay, how many groups do I have? How many paper plates? 4. How many is in each plate? Nothing, 0. How many do I have altogether? 0. And how do I write it? And so the whole thing's going to be kind of odd for them. Just like, can you kind of feel like even for us it's kind of a strange thing? That's why the zeros are always so difficult. We have to be very careful with them. they're easy once you learn them, but to get to them, for them to really learn them and understand it, it's very odd, just like you, I even feel now when I'm talking with you about it, it's just a very odd thing, yes.
So isn't it just like to get them to like, get the habit to write it, and then once they realize it, I mean, eventually they don't have to, but it's just to get in the pattern of
Yeah.
how you're writing it?
Yeah, so this, like right here, this is on a day when I just want them to write times 0. This would probably occur maybe in 2nd grade. Okay, because now we're doing a lot of multiplication in 2nd grade. And now I have never done a times 0 before with them, because I know that that's gonna be difficult. So they've been doing 4 times 3, 4 times 1, and so on. And so here's my, maybe the middle of 2nd grade, now we're working on this, and I want to introduce this. So I would do, show me 4 times 3, 4 times 1, and then the 4 times 0, now they got it written down. Okay? Then I would do another problem, say, okay, take out, let's use 6 plates. They take out 6 paper plates and put 4 on each. They put 4 on each. Okay, so what would that be as multiplication? How many groups do I have? I have 6 groups, 6 plates. How many is in each group? 4. Okay, and count them all up, 24. How do I write that? Okay, and that they already know. This one, I mean, they're working on it. Let's put it that way. They know how to find this. They just haven't memorized it in 2nd grade yet. They may have to be counting them or whatever. Okay, and they say, okay, now take 2 of them off of each of those plates. So how many plates do you have? 6. How many groups do you have? Still 6. How many is in a group? 2. Okay, so how many total do you have? Count them up. 12. How do I write that? 6 groups of 2 is 12. Okay? And now comes the big one. Okay, empty the plates, take 2 off of each. Okay, how many plates do you have? 6. How many groups do you have? 6. How many is in each group? 0. Nothing. How many total manipulatives do you have? Nothing. Okay, how would I write that? How many groups do we have? So I'm using this here. And how many is in each group? Okay, so this one here and this one here, I've just gone through this whole thing just to get them to write times 0. That's all I've been trying to do. Okay, and that's all this lesson is about. Okay, then on another day, or it could even be later in that same lesson if you wanted, or the next day, you could go back and start collecting all these and say, okay, we had 4 times 0, and what's that? 0. 6 times 0, what was that? 0. And so on. What do you notice? Oh, when you multiply by 0, you get 0. And they come up with the rule. Yes?
This would have been done on the higher grade, and how would you explain in a concrete way, because I don't even understand, like, why you don't divide by 0?
Oh, actually, yeah, and we did do that.
Like, how
And,
can you do that in like a concrete way?
well, it was a semi-concrete way. We used, you guys remember the Skittles cookies?
We sure do.
Okay, that was the, there was something that I handed out in the middle class, because divide by 0, you wouldn't see that in 3rd grade. You shouldn't see it. Let's put it that way. You shouldn't see it until 4th or 5th grade. Okay, but anyways, what that was, and I can't recreate it exactly. It was kind of doing the same thing. It was giving them a situation that they could figure out, like if you have 100 Skittles in this bin, and it's dropping 5 at a time onto these cookies. Okay, so one cookie gets 5. Let me make it simpler. 20. There's 20 Skittles up here, and how many cookies can you get? So 20, it's dropping 5, you get 4 cookies. Okay, so that's 20 divided by 5 is 4. Okay, then if you put in 0, nothing here, and how many cookies will you get? You'll get 0. I'm trying to think. That's the way it went.
It was something like if you need
Yeah.
3 Skittles to make a cookie and you put 0 in, how many cookies are you gonna be able to make? And it
Yeah.
was like, none.
Yeah.
They're gonna bleed, they're not gonna have any Skittles on their weight, plain sugar.
Yeah. So I'll have to give that to you, that if you remind me that handout, because it had a whole scenario about the thing would stop. As soon as it ran out of things, out of Skittles, the machine would stop, and it would be waiting for you to put in more Skittles. So, okay, but you shouldn't have to worry about that in 3rd grade. Okay. All right, any questions about teaching multiplying with zero?
Give us one.
All right, can you see that this would be the same thing I would do to multiply by 1? Getting the students to write times 1 isn't a problem, but getting them to see that 4 times 1 is 4, they're going to get confused with 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay, so you want them to come up with the rule multiplying by 1 by using the manipulatives again, or pictures. Okay, then they're going to tell you, oh, when you multiply by 1, you get the number stays the same, for example. All right, now if you really want to attack this misconception where they're going to get the times 1 mixed up with the plus 1s and the times 0s and the plus 0s, right then and there you would say, okay, we just learned how to multiply by 1. We found a rule. How does that compare to adding with 1? What's the rule with adding with 1? You just let them see them side by side and start thinking about them. You say, well, how are you going to keep those separate? Okay, let them just come up with however ideas they want to. Hopefully it'll be, well, 4 plus 1 means you're adding 1. And 4 times 0 means you have, 4 times 1 means you have 4 groups of 1. Okay? All right, so again, what we're doing here is the concrete or semi-concrete pictures or manipulatives, then go into the abstract rules, contextualize, understand the concept first. We're getting patterns, like you see the pattern up here. Okay, so I'm using all that. I'm doing that so the students can tell me the rules. Okay? They can tell me the rules, that means they really understand it. All right? Are we okay so far? I mean, so far multiplication isn't so bad. We've got the doubles, which they've known since first grade. We got the 5 facts, which they've skipped count by 5s, the 0 and 1 facts. And now we come to the 9 facts, and you guys started talking about the 9 facts before. There's actually, now this you'd think would be the toughest one. It actually turns out to be the funnest one for the students. They really like the 9 facts because there's so many different ways that you can go about this. This is one way. Of course, a lot of you were talking about the hands. Remember that? Does anyone want to? Did you guys do that in here or in the other class?
I think it's the other class, because I think Steffani was the one who said that.
Thank you.
Okay, would someone like to explain it to everybody so we all know?
I can do it. Okay, so hold up your hands. And
I'm so excited right now.
if it's 2 times 9, you just count from the left. 1, 2, down to 2. Yeah, 18. So there's 1 on this side, and then when your finger goes down, there's 1. Yeah. And then if it's 3, put the 3 down. 2, 7, 27. Put 5, it's 45. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So cool. I know, right? When I learned that in 3rd grade, I was like, ah.
Yes.
The way I know how to multiply by 9, because I use my fingers, so that's okay.
Now, if they do the nifty 9s, you have them fill in that sheet that you have there. These are the answers there, and you can have them, okay, do you see any patterns? Do you see anything up there? Lauren?
So, the tens place, you start at 1 going 8, but then in the ones place, you're counting backwards from 8.
From 8 to 1. Okay, Grace?
I was gonna say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any others have? Oh, Grace?
Also, they always add up to 9.
They always add up to 9. Okay, so when you're multiplying by 9, you know the answer has to add up to 9 or else you made a mistake. Anything else? What about the problem and the answer? Do you see any relationship there?
Well, the bottom one where like 8 times 9 is like 7, 8, 9. You know, there's the 7 in the answer.
Okay.
And then there's 6, 7. Well, that doesn't match on the next one.
But you're on to some, you're close to some with what you're saying.
This is 1 less than the other.
The other number
It's
beside
not
9.
the other
Yeah, so whatever number you're multiplying by 9, 6, you just take 1 away from it, and that's your tens place. And then you know that the other number has to add to 9, right? So 9 times 4, you take away 1 from 4, you get 3, and then 3 plus what is 9? 3 plus 6, 36. Okay? Anything else? All right, so you can discuss that in the class. What about, instead of multiplying by 9, how do these compare to if you're multiplying by 10? Carrie, you see something?
So like the 18, you go up 2, and that's 10, 27, you go up 3, and that's 10, 36, 4.
Yeah.
25.
So multiplying by 10 is pretty easy. So 5 times 10 is 50. But you're multiplying by 5, take away 5, 45. 8 times 10 is 80, take away 8, 72. See, and that makes sense when you think about this as groups, because if I multiply 7 by 10, I'm saying I have 10 groups of 7, which is 70. But I don't want 10 groups of 7, I want 9 groups of 7. So take away a group of 7, subtract 7 from 70, and you get 63. Does that sort of make sense, or is that, okay? So those are the 9s. So you have plenty of ways for the students to learn the 9s. So far we've done what? The 2s, which are easy, the 5s, which are really easy, they can skip counting, the 1s and 0s, we did those, and now we did the 9s. And now we have a total of 25 problems left. Okay, these 25, of which, if you look at those, 8 times 7 is 7 times 8. If I know that reverse it, commutative law, I only have to know one of those. 8 times 7 is 7 times 8. 8 times 6 is 6 times 8. If you take out all the commutative pairs, all the pairs that are basically the same answer, you should have 15, I believe. Yeah, you have 15 problems to memorize. So at the most, you have 15 to memorize. Okay with that? Now think about this. You could, I don't know if you remember, but when I was talking about addition and skip counting, I was saying that if you skip count by more than 2s, 5s, and 10s, that you will help the 3rd grade teacher, because if they can skip count by 7s or 8s, now all those times 7s go away, because they can go 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, you know, that whole thing, they can go right down that line. Okay, so all the 7s would go away, and all the 8s, so you'd be taking away even more of these problems if you were skip counting by 7s and 8s from, you know, kindergarten or 1st grade. And if I were beginning 3rd grade and they weren't skip counting by that, before I get to these problems, I think I would start every day by saying, okay, let's learn how to skip count by 7. And so every day we would just begin by skip counting by 7, and then suddenly we come to this here, and now they got all the 7s down. Okay? So just having all this, just skip counting by 7s alone, that would take care of those, this one, actually all these, and all of these. Okay? And the 7s are pretty tough for multiplication.
What grade you said you in kindergarten?
I would ask the kindergarten teacher to start skip counting by 7. If they weren't, then at least the 1st grade teacher. I'd like them, when they come to me in 3rd grade, to be able to skip count by 7, somewhere along that line. Kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. I mean, kindergarten you might wait because they're learning how to learn by 2s, 5s, and 10s, so maybe they're learning a lot of skip counting there. But in 1st grade, maybe by 7s, okay, and then maybe 2nd grade by 8s. But if they don't know that, then the beginning of my 3rd grade class, that'd be one of the things I would start every class with, is skip counting by 7, for example.
You could do that when like they get in line, you know, before they leave the room. You can say like 7, 14, 28, you know, and then they repeat you, and you just do that every single day. Don't you think that'd be repetitious? They remember that.
Yeah, that would work. So think about that, because that's like the 8, 8, 16 weight, you know, those kind. Think about how you can just bring it right into the into the regular routine of the classroom instead of, you know, like sometimes you do crisscross applesauce, you know, whatever the thing is. That's right. So, you know, I mean, if you do something like that, I mean, it's not as cute, but it is, they are learning something that's gonna be very valuable to them later. Because those sevens are really difficult for. Okay? Any questions about this? Oh, remember, you also have this book for the doubles, 2 of everything. Let's see. Have you seen this book, 100 Hungry Ants? A whole hill of hungry ants, their faces all aglow, came swarming from the forest to cross the field below. A soft breeze fanned the sunshine and whisked them on their way. It hinted of yummies for their empty tummies. That means a picnic, hooray. Okay, so you can see they're all lined up. 100 ants were singing and marching in a row. We're going to a picnic, a hey and a hidey-ho. Stop, said the littlest ant. We're moving way too slow. Some food will be long gone unless we hurry up. So, with 2 lines of 50, we get there soon, I know. Okay, so 1 line of 100 now becomes 250, 2 groups of 50, 2 times 50. And then you can talk about those being factors if you want, 2 and 50. All the ants raced here and there, up, down, and to and fro. There'll be lots of yummies for our hungry tummies, a hey and a hidey-ho. 100 ants were singing and marching in 2 rows. We're going to a picnic, a hey and a hidey-ho. And notice what's happening. They're going to the picnic and what's coming from the picnic. Animals are getting the food already. Stop, yelled the littlest ant. We're moving way too slow. More of the food will be gone unless we hurry up. So, with 4 lines of 25, we get there soon, I know. All the ants raced here and there, up, down, and to and fro. We hope they're yummies for our grumbling tummies, a hey and a hidey-ho. Because there are 4 groups of 25. 100 ants were singing and marching in 4 rows. We're going to a picnic, a hey and a hidey-ho. Stop, screamed the littlest ant. We're moving way too slow. Lots of food will long be gone unless we hurry up. So, with 5 lines of 20, we'd get there soon, I know. All the ants raced here and there, up, down, to and fro. There might be a yummy or a gurgling tummy, a hey and a hidey-ho. 100 ants were singing and marching in 5 rows. We're going to a picnic, a hey and a hidey-ho. Stop, shrieked the littlest ant. We're moving way too slow. All the food will be long gone unless we hurry up. So, with 10 lines of 10, we get there soon, I know. All the ants raced here and there, up, down, and to and fro. There better be yummies for our grumbling tummies, a hey and a hidey-ho. Is this exciting? 100 ants were singing and marching in 10 rows. At last we're at the picnic, a hey and a hidey-ho. Stop, yipped the littlest ant. We've traveled way too slow. There's no food for us to eat. You took so long with rows. All the ants raced here and there, up, down, and to and fro. There aren't any yummies for our growling tummies, a hey and a hidey-ho. Oh no! 99 ants were swarming from each and every row, in hot pursuit of one little ant who quickly turned to go. It's not all my fault, you know. It's just an empty plate. Okay? So we talk about factors. And speaking of factors, I know we didn't play this in this, but product game. really just need one but you need a partner to play with. So just need one game board for a partner. Of course, most of you already know this. All right, so these are called, so there you have your factors. And you have got your, I put 2 paper clips on everybody's desk. Does everybody have their 2 paper clips? Okay, then you need a partner. So all right, maybe one of you can explain this because you've already played this game. Do you remember how to play it? Could show those that haven't seen it yet. Anybody want to show it?
If I have a partner, what else do you need?
I'll go with you.
Yeah, I've got the you're gonna need the little yellow and blue markers.
Okay, one person plus a paper clip on here.
Nope, you gotta choose a color first.
Yellow, alright, I'll be blue.
Okay, well, because she chose yellow and I chose blue, the person who chooses the lightest color actually gets to go first. And then going first means she gets to put her paper clip down first. And then this one I get to put down. So in reality, I actually get to go first. Yeah. So she's gonna do 2, and then the object of the game is to get 4 in a row. So the first one's kind of easy, you just put it down, but everyone pretty much knows 2. I'm gonna do 18, because it's in the middle, so 2 times 9 is 18, I'm gonna cover that up.
So then I'm gonna move my paper clip.
You don't normally, you can move any of them, that's just yours.
Oh, I thought it had to be yours.
No, you can move
any-
either
okay.
one.
Okay, so then
But only one.
9 times 3, where is it?
So now strategically, I wanna figure out how I can get 4 and maybe block her at the same time. And so maybe what I'll do is I'll just go here and just try to do this.
I'm just hoping I get my math facts right. Okay, so then let's do, let's see, let me try this here. You can put it on top of hers.
Thank you, yeah, that's a good one. 5
Add
times 5.
some in. You can put it on top of it.
Oh, like my paper clip?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
which
missed
side
some of the
is
rules,
that?
so,
And then
so 5
9
times 5.
This is fun.
But then it teaches them like how we're strategizing, how to, so then it's not just like, oh, let me move my paper clip around and guess it, no, like, to see what it is and get to the
So
next one.
what I'll do is I'll move one of the 5s to the 6th so that I actually block her and she can't get a 4 right there. Block.
So yeah, guys, that's how you play.
So do you want to try it?
Someone help her out. She's
It's
literally
basically saving 6 to the 4.
move the 6
And
to
then
the
you
4.
can lock her with 4.
Huh, but she wasn't the 6, she's the 5. Oh.
No, but
It doesn't matter.
No, the one that was on 6 to 4. Oh, sorry.
She can't do that though, because that wasn't her paper clip.
No, it doesn't
So you
matter.
can
who I
move either
want.
paper clip.
Oh, I thought you had to move just yours.
And then
No.
you can block her up to 20.
20 of them.
Yeah, we did. So yeah, strategy.
You can also go diagonal too. So 4 in
Just
a
for
row.
like connect 4 diagonal.
You can do.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not what I wanted. Damn it. Alright,
She
well.
just texted me, so she's.
Ooh.
Oh,
It's not what I
okay.
wanted. Can I take
All
it
right.
down?
Thank you.
So,
Do you guys want to try it? You need just
Yeah, let's
one
do
game
it.
board for 2.
No.
So you're helping your students to practice their multiplication facts. They know what the word factor means. Okay? We're televising live one game.
we're not making 4 in a row, we're just trying to make sure the other doesn't.
You're trying to make sure the other doesn't win as opposed
Yeah.
to you winning.
I did 2 times 7.
Hmm? Oh, yeah, you can go. Yeah.
I don't know.
Wait, my turn?
Caitlin, how are you doing? You look a little tired. Oh.
Do you have any more yellows?
Here.
What I mean is he actually read them.
You're feeling big?
May or may not, you know, and that was, I couldn't take it back out of the machine after I already used it to, it was already cutting it up. How am I so close and you keep blocking me?
And you see, Hannah, this is something you could do on Leprechaun Day as opposed to your drinking. This is actually,
But which one's more fun?
to give you something to think about now.
No! No, wait, okay. That's okay. Yeah, you- No! No!
The live feed was honestly rose and beans. It was like the rose under candy thing. We just watched
Live
it.
feed.
Like, usually the tension.
But watching them?
Yeah.
It actually was entertaining.
I could see, like, you know how you have like Connect Four challenges, like,
So, like,
Yeah.
what we're
like to have like a
hiring
product
for
game
is
challenge, and you're like, all right, Tony's the winner, who's next, who thinks they can beat me? You're like, all right, I can beat you, you know, and like you got it, then you just figure out, like, maybe you tally, like, she's got one, he's got, okay, who's gonna come up now, and this
Yeah.
team can.
Every
It's kind of fun to do that throughout the whole like quarter. Like you could have like a little schedule set up, like Tony plays, you know, Kayla on day 1 or whatever, then day 2, Tony plays, you know, like, yeah, everybody's scheduled out and then.
What are those called in?
Sunrise, sunset.
Well, I didn't call them sports. Like
Around-
bracket?
Bracket, yeah, do brackets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, yeah, that'd be fun.
So sporty.
So
I just remember that from, like,
Yeah.
when he gave this to us, like, this was like months ago that he gave this to us.
Yeah.
I took this home and I played this with my son,
Did
and
you?
But I do that.
I didn't think he was gonna have as much fun as he did, and I really didn't think, and sometimes I'll give him credit, that he was gonna be as strategic as he was, and he beat like his ninth grade president, and he was like, oh, sorry, like, come on, mommy, and he beat me like twice, but it's just all about like, did you pay attention to your own stuff, or did you pay attention to what he was doing and what you're doing, and
It's like
go,
it's multitasking.
Math, sorry game. We need
Is that sorry?
That's just what I'm thinking, because I would be,
Oh.
I would the whole time I'd be like, oops, sorry. Or something, I don't know.
you gotta figure out, where do I move that he can't get me out?
Okay, well, that's all I've got for today. I'll hand you out the rules, by the way, because there's a rule sheet that goes with it, so I know I don't have a copy.
The funny thing is that when I need to get like.
Yeah, Tony made her, one of her games out of this. Right, Tony, you said you
Yeah,
laminated
I
it?
redid it and put the rules on the bottom and made it straight and circuit it on. And then I wanted you to think at the time to it and just copy your name.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think I might have spread out the numbers a little more too or something like that, but it's exactly the same.
And you use a dry erase marker, right?
Yeah, no.
Oh, you
I
don't?
laminated it, but I made circles like that
Oh,
so that
okay.
everyone could have, but I guess dry erase marker where you just X it out,
Yeah.
you know, so you don't, no, I punched all those out and.
Dr. Christie,
Yeah.
so for my middle math games, 2 of them, actually all of them I think, are multiplication.
like.
And everyone was wearing, so I remember reading information still in 4 pages, maybe more, like some of them are a lot of strategy. So I figured with that, like,
For that,
is
that's a quick turnaround, buddy.
level.
Yeah.
So that's just a little.
Oh, yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Well, that's why I said shotgun wedding, like an hour long.
Anyway, so when I put that on, I was like, here. Oh, yeah, I was dreaming about this last night.
I'm excited.
Anyways, so I put it on and
Yeah, it does.
I needed to eat more.
When I go to
it was this way, you know,
they have like a
I put it on and I'm like, okay, that looks fine. And so then I go to press it and then I'm looking at it and I'm like, is it hanging? And I'm like, on the hanger, like, does this, and I was like, no, it looks okay. Maybe it does look okay. And I was like, damn it. So I was like, all right, so I put the shirt on, knowing, first off, that's not my next size, okay? So when I put it on, it was like this.
What does it say?
Like tight on my boobs, and I was like, oh, Kayla's got big nails. What if this doesn't fit her like right there? And it was, the R was stretching, but no, that looks good.
Yeah, I think it looks.
That looks good. Look short.
I know, I had my shirt, I forgot to bring it over.
That's all right.
And I had no
You might
problem,
do that.
because I knew I was gonna be one of the first ones to get it done, so I had no problem even if it like, was like totally lopsided
Does
or
it look
something.
crooked? I mean,
No,
no, are
to
you
me
sure?
it didn't.
My titties are crooked, that's what it is. It's not the shirt.
Exactly, yeah.
You ain't got one big one with small.
Yes.
What does your shirt say?
That's gonna say
No,
that.
yours, the one you have on.
It's cute.
Oh, it's a Buckeye.
Like Ohio State.
Legalized, it says legalized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it
She-
says legalized Buckeyes. Is that what that says?
Legalized greatness.
Greatness, yeah, so it looks like weed leaf, right?
Yeah, she goes, is she wearing a marijuana shirt? I said, no, it's Ohio State.
I'm pretty sure the whole point is to confuse you. My sister got this for me and like, it's literally like a thin shirt.
Yeah, I like
Is that
that
like
shirt.
a
I
really
want
thick one?
that printed on a thin shirt.
A thin, you gotta find one.
I know. I have one, but I don't know if I'm willing to part with it yet.
Okay, that's so
It's a
funny
nice
because I
black
just
shirt.
went to the store and went to Rose's. Go to Rose's, they're like $3.99.
Where's that at?
It's right on Brook Park and Smith right there.
Roses?
But it was cute because it was sort of like, maybe like sleeves
Three-quarter
here, but it kind of like, a little bit longer, like, you know,
Yeah.
like on the side.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I'll just add and try it on. I went home, then this morning before I got here, I was gonna put the shirt on real quick. I was gonna print mine.
Yeah.
And I put it on, I was like,
in the garage.
actually, I think I might like it too much to put.
There's
I
like a-
know.
I gotta go,
That's
so I have to go
why I
get
know.
another one, I'll just,
And I'm pretty sure I put it
We'll
away
just
from
have
me,
double.
but I wanna make
that's
sure I
okay, I'll
have
just
like.
have double, yeah.